Welcome to the Mindcraft podcast. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am here with the wonderful Lisa Andria. I'm so excited. Lisa and I met at our mastermind group, and just I've been excited to interview her ever since. And so, Lisa is going to share what I personally would consider an extremely important topic for everyone, and with what she wants to talk about, we talked about a little bit off camera, especially for women. So Lisa is going to talk to us about the importance of self-love as far as cultivating happiness and all the good feels that we need. All right, Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. We've been talking about this for a while, so it's fun to get on right now. And
Okay.
I just want to say, cultivating self-love and genuinely loving yourself unconditionally is a really difficult but yet rewarding part of a woman's life. And I think especially women. We actually go through our lives really thinking about other people, making sure everybody else is happy, making sure and giving love to other people. And unfortunately, we forget about ourselves. Either we don't give ourselves permission to even think about what we want or what our dreams are. We just don't cultivate that self love enough. And it can be in all types of gambits. And I experienced that most of my life. It's been being a coach myself and learning and growing and being coached and going through a lot of different modalities and methods and internal meditation and guidance from folks that really helped me to understand that the things that people did to me to make me sad about myself or the way that I felt about myself as a result of that is really things that made me stronger, made me more resilient, and made me the person that I am today. So I should be thankful to them. I really should be thankful that the things that they did to me helped me to be who I am today. It's not a bad thing. The universe puts people in your path to give you lessons. And it's taken a really long time to accept that and to understand that.
I'll tell you, Lisa, and Lisa, the transformation coach, my. I realize I left that off there, so she's going to share that throughout our time here together. When you just said what you just said about that when you're ready, the universe kind of comes in. So there's that old saying of when the student is ready, the teacher kind of shows up, right? And that she, he, whatever can have all kinds of faces. And what might you say about that? Tell us about these lessons that happen.
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit. I was in a marriage, and right around 2003, I woke up one morning and I realized I didn't even know who I was anymore. I had completely been doing everything for other people. I was that really heavy duty people pleaser, even though I didn't have a term for it until I went to a therapist and they
Right.
gave me the term. I just, I wanted going back to childhood, I wanted friends and people to like me. So I would morph into whatever it is that I thought they would want to be around me for. I would change my personality. I would work really hard for people to be pleased by being around me. So I was that heavy people pleaser that I completely lost who I was. And how can you even think about loving yourself when you're not authentically who you are every single day of your life? And so when I woke up that morning, I realized I don't know who I am and I need to start a journey to figure it out. And so I even told my husband at the time, I said, I don't know who I am anymore and I'm going to go on a journey to find out and I can't promise that you'll be with me. So I have to give him a lot of credit because we went to therapy. I did not know about coaching, but we went through therapy together and alone, and we both had some growth there. But in the end, I realized that he was not the right person for me to be with. And so that was my start. And so from there, I still was, as I call women, floating through life, not really thinking about what it is that I want to do, because loving yourself means you do put yourself first. Hey, that whole saying about putting your mask on, first so that you can help others, loving yourself is a big part of that, because that means you're putting your mask on because you know that you need to be good in order to be able to help others.
Right,
So
right.
that took a long time, and it wasn't until 2018. Really, it was a long journey. I mean, I had small steps, but I didn't really start transforming even myself until I found out. I retired the first time, and I found out about coaching. And that's when I started, you talk about the universe. I then became the life student, truly openly allowed people to come in because my vulnerability level was very low. I was not allowing people to see who I truly was. Otherwise, they wouldn't like me. That was a thought I had in my head. And I had all those past bullying and trauma that I had from a young child to kind of reinforce that, right? My unconscious mind was saying, oh, this person picked on you. These people didn't like you. These people treated you badly. So it must mean that you're the problem, Lisa. So you need to twist yourself so that you're something that other people would like. And I'm thinking that people hearing this, probably a lot of people can relate. Unfortunately, we've all had those kinds of experiences. And your unconscious mind takes every experience that you have and then turns them into these negative, continuous thoughts. And then it continues with the negative thoughts. And then that turns into really not accepting yourself, not loving yourself, not feeling comfortable about being yourself. All these problems that women have, even with imposter syndrome, right? You think, oh, I'm not good enough. This is all flowing back. To me, it all flows back to the fact that you don't love yourself. And that self love is it's really the key. And I'm going to be honest, it's been like just over the last 2 or 3 years that I've really allowed myself to understand who I am and accepting who I am, and then understanding what I want in life and who I want to be around, and then not allowing the bad people, the people that are not treating me right, to still be in my life. So that was a big step for me.
Well, I'll tell you, Lisa, you're saying so many things that I could just grab a
Yeah.
torch and run with, because I think many people don't realize that we, all day, every day, we teach people how to treat us with what we're putting out there. So if we're putting out doormat vibes, we're going to be walked on. If we're treating people like a celebrity, they're going to treat us like a fan. I mean, that's just how it works, right? And we often, I think, we get that aha moment, usually a little later on. I don't think we usually get that in our 20s, maybe 30s, probably doubtful. It's usually, a little bit when we become a little bit more seasoned, like good wine. We start to try to figure out and decode what's going on, right? I'm wondering because you sort of went right into having to change and morph yourself because of the fear. This is so common when you said this. I went, oh, that if I let people see me for realsies, who I am, they might not like me, and that will be excruciating. So therefore, I'll change myself to get the good feels and wear the mask and do the facade and do the charade to protect myself from that kind of pain, right?
Right, right. And you're basically blaming yourself for other people not liking you. And my gosh, I didn't even think of the fact that if they don't like you, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is going to like me. And also, like I was saying, when you talk those negative thoughts in your head and they keep going over and over, you actually can project onto people that they don't like you when they actually do. But your projection, your mind is thinking, well, these people probably don't like me, so I've got to change who I am. And then when you're not being authentic, they're not going to like you, right? Vulnerability is powerful. It allows people to trust you. It allows people to come in and really get to know you. When you're holding up a wall or making yourself morph into something else, then to be honest, that's difficult for people to come in and actually really get to know you and understand you. I mean, I have several not several, I would say a very small group of really close friends that I've had a very long time. And I felt the most comfortable with them. But to be honest, even with them, I wasn't my true self. I was always editing. I think that's a good word to say. I was always editing. Yeah. And you know how exhausting that is? Constantly talking to someone and having that editor in the back of your mind thinking, okay, so I need to say it this way and this way. Oh my gosh. Until I released that, it was exhausting. And I don't think I realized how exhausting it was to go through life like that until I actually let it go and released it. Because you're right, fear, my whole life was about fear. Fear of not being liked, fear of making the wrong decisions, fear of being with the wrong person, fear of doing the wrong things, fear of making the wrong decisions. It was so much of it. And it was when it all comes down to it, it has, I feel now, understanding it more, is that I didn't have that self-love. And I'll tell you, I mean, I had great mom. I had a mom and a dad, but my mom was great. She really loved me and all of that. This is, we each have our own experience in life and are put in and have those traumas, whether they're huge or they're just little things that really stuck in your mind that you can't shake unless you have a really big awakening and sometimes help just to be able to awaken from that. Yeah.
Right. So, Lisa, with your degree of comfortability, of course, do you have a sort of a clear pivot moment when you kind of said, "I'm done with this exhausting acting I'm doing"? It's because when you were speaking before you said exhausted, I'm thinking this had to be exhausting. Do you have a memory of like the aha moment? If you feel comfortable enough to share it with us, I'm just going to move out of the sun a little bit.
So it's been a series of things, and some of it has been actual. I'm an NLP master practitioner, so I've gone through that training. And when you go through trainings like that, you actually do the methods on each other during the training. So when I was going through what's called a breakthrough session. So it's through a Dr. Matt James. It's called mental and emotional release. And so we were doing this timeline type of work, which releases negative emotions and limiting beliefs. And it's the first 2.5 hours or so, you're talking about your life. And we're trained to ask the right questions to get them out, right? So at the end of that 2.5 hours, I heard in my unconscious mind, I don't love myself. And I was afraid and ashamed to say it. I'll tell you, I whispered it. I said, I don't love myself. Because I was so embarrassed. And it took having that conversation and also a lot of work that I've done to try and get over the things that were done to me. And at that point, the year before, I had dealt with breast cancer. I had realized that a 12-year relationship needed to be over because the person, I mean, even with this diagnosis, didn't come to the table. And then I also realized there was a friend that I had had for a while that was not in my best interest and did something that was not supportive. And so I released, I purged some of my relationships the year before. So that was a part of the journey of understanding that I should be around people that appreciate me and honor who I am and respect me, right? I will reciprocate, but I need that from someone. So that was the year before. And then when this breakthrough session happened and I actually said it out loud, that's when I realized it. And they went through the process where you release these negative emotions and this particular belief. And once it was done, I felt like a weight was off my shoulder and that I realized how exhausting it was and let it out. Now, it wasn't the end of my journey because, yeah, that's not the end of it, but that was the moment when, I mean, physically, I felt like the bag of rocks, as I call it, was just let go.
Yes.
Because admitting it was like half the battle.
Isn't that the truth, though, Lisa? I think in general, this is a different scenario, but I remember growing up with a family member in Alcoholics Anonymous. I know it's different context, but I remember them kind of talking like that, like, "Hi, my name is so and so," and one story after the next, the release of admitting the things, like if it's I'm an alcoholic, or it's and I cheated on, whatever, admitting the things and being vulnerable to thine own self be true, like Shakespeare would say, right? And then all of a sudden, was there like a wave of that followed that, like once you admitted it?
It was exactly that. It was a lot of sadness that that I and shame. I felt
Oh yeah.
shameful. Like, how could people not love themselves? I mean, they're on this earth. How could you not love themselves? Come to find out later that a lot of women, especially women, there are men too, but especially women, don't love themselves, and that's a root of a lot of their issues. But at that moment, I thought I was the only person in the world who didn't love
Right.
themselves, and I felt very shameful.
Now tell us this, Lisa. Of course, being also being a woman and very aware of the conditioning of that. What? Tell us why, for the women listening, and also the men, because some men too, but the men who love their women might be good for them to hear this as well. Their sisters, their mothers, partners, whomever. Why do you think this is more this sort of self-love deficit, let's just call it that, syndrome, self-love deficit syndrome, is more prominent with women than men? Tell us why you think that is.
Well, think about it. In our society, women take care of everybody, right? We're the nurturers, we're the caretakers. And so we are giving of ourselves to everyone else. We love everyone else. We give love. We don't necessarily accept love as easily, and we don't think about ourselves. So if you're not actually spending the time to really think about what you want and what you need, then you're not honoring yourself. I mean, think about it. If I had a friend who I was not honoring them and not treating them as though I loved them, they wouldn't want to be around me. They wouldn't like me, right? So if I'm doing that to myself, then I don't like myself.
Right.
It's the exact same thing. And I always try and think about how we treat others, and we don't treat ourselves with the same sense of compassion and love. It's that we give so much as women, we don't necessarily give to ourselves the same amount.
Oh, 100%. I can't tell you how many, reels I've done, short versions of that, where people, mostly women people, but people in general, don't realize the toll it takes on us when we abandon ourselves in that way. If we're chasing external approval, which is the people pleasing, the rescuing, all the codependent behaviors, right? Each and every, even if it's a small little itty bitty bit in a conversation where you're not saying how you really think and feel, it's a tiny little thing. It's still, it takes a piece out of us each and every time. And I don't think we're always aware of that, because there's nothing worse we can do to ourselves, and I'm sure you agree, than abandon ourselves. Then we're not good for us or anybody else.
Yeah. And it's not like you're constantly aware of this either. It is because you have this feeling in yourself. So the words are coming out, the decisions are being made. This is all unconscious. This is all just happening. You notice that women tend to say, "I'm sorry," very
Yes.
quickly and a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
remember somebody when I was in business and in the corporate world, I got a great piece of advice where a woman told me, "Stop saying you're sorry." Even with, because I worked in a very male dominated field in telecom, on conversations or even in emails, she goes, "Stop saying you're sorry and instead say, I apologize if something you did actually did
Did
something
something.
wrong.
Yeah.
Then stop to say, yeah, then stop to say, I apologize if I was late for a meeting or whatever it was." But we tend to say I'm sorry so much. And that's, to me, is an indication also that you don't think you're good enough. You have to constantly think that you're doing something wrong, so you have to keep saying sorry. And I think as women, you hear that a lot. I mean, that's something that you don't even have to think about. You hear that a lot.
You hear that a lot. Oh my gosh, Lisa, you're having right now. You just brought into my mind one of my husband's grandmothers, and I remember when she turned 80. She was this heavy set, loved to eat, loved to eat. She was a little chunky monkey. She had this fuchsia cape, gorgeous silver fox hair with a little Zsa Zsa Gabor bow, and brown skin. I think Portuguese. I'm not really sure. But on her 80th birthday, I said, Nana, I said, at 80, what would, just as obviously years ago, what would be your wisdom for us? We were like in our 30s or something. It was a long time ago. And I just loved her. And I said, what wisdom would you give us? And she kind of did this look around the room, and she said, two things. She said, one, I would spend less time cleaning the bathroom. And the second one, she said, I would stop apologizing so much. That was the wisdom of an 80-year-old woman. Stop apologizing so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me that's an indication that and it's a kind of a red flag to all of us that because a lot of us do it a lot. You don't even think and it comes
Right,
out.
right.
And I think that that comes from the place of we're constantly trying to please people and we just don't think we're doing enough to help people. And if we even bump into, I mean, it's a reflux
It's
action. It's
ridiculous.
something that you
Yeah.
say without even thinking. Yeah. Yeah, so I became very aware of the word, and then I changed it to I apologize, and then I apologize is actually much more intentional. So I took that. I only said it when I was truly there was truly something that I
Truly
did
something to
wrong.
say it for, right? Yeah.
Right. So becoming, and that's a big part of it too. When you're going through any kind of transformation, you start to become very aware, right? You're self-aware, you're aware of others. That awareness, as you raise that, it's a way of being able to grow and change and transform. Yeah. And so being aware of when you're saying I'm sorry a lot is definitely, one of the steps to understand that there's something more there that you need to explore, whether it be reading books about the subject or going to a coach or a therapist or talking to a trusted friend or just I like the sitting with yourself and meditating in some way and just thinking about your who you are as a person and appreciating it and really appreciating yourself. You've done a lot of great things. You've accomplished a lot. You have a good brain. You have working, I mean, I'm blessed, think about what you're grateful for, what you're blessed about. I have two hands and eyes and ears that work and I can speak
100%.
and yeah, and I did some great things. I got my master's degree. I mean, all those things that you've done in your life. And so I am a really good person. I am someone who I am worthy of loving. And that is a journey for some of us, for quite a few of us, and it takes a lot of different things to happen and things for you to do to get to that point. But when I released it in that one session, at least I knew now, oh, a lot of my problems were that I didn't love myself. And then taking the journey to understand that the people that did those things to me were there for a reason and they made me a better person. It was part of my life, right? Life doesn't happen to you, it happens
It
for
happens
you.
for you. I was just gonna say that. Oh, we're so on the same page. I was just gonna say that because isn't that true, Lisa? That once we can, I remember I had such an aha moment with that. It was Wayne Dyer who said that when I heard it the first time, and well, ages ago, and I thought, wow, that was such a mental shift for me because, like you say, even all the adverse experiences that we would not want to relive necessarily, right? All the things done to us, we don't want to do it again. However, we also don't want that suffering or that struggle to be in vain either. So we may as well, sort of realize it happened for us, and kind of like the cream rises to the top. Save the growth part that's made us and shaped us into who we are. I love that.
Yeah. And uncomfortable as it is, right? You were just kind of saying that. That's where I came from, even with my ladies who leap, right? The little logo symbol that I have is a woman leaping out of a circle, which is our comfort zone. So when you do something that you're uncomfortable with, that's where the growth is. So that's where the
Oh, of
growth
course.
happens. And it's hard. It's difficult. I mean, your the work that you do is helps people so much. I have been so blessed to have other coaches and therapists and folks come into my life over the last 3 or 4 years even, and every single one of them has brought me another nugget of help and information that helps me to see things. I just met with a very wise friend, and she helped me to understand that all the people in your life that weren't necessarily treating you so well were really there for a purpose. And you need to send them love and send them forgiveness and send them light so they can heal, and thank them for, because more than likely if someone didn't treat you well, they have their own pain and suffering that they're going through, right? In the
Absolutely.
moment you're not thinking about that, but when you really look at it, they're lashing out or saying something or doing something because they have their own
Right.
issues and
Right.
their own baggage that they're carrying. So forgiving them and thanking them even for taking their baggage and giving you a lesson with what you experienced, and then forgiving them and allowing them and loving or sending them light so that they can heal to go forward. It's just, it was just a beautiful piece of information that I got even recently that is helping me to understand that the whole journey of loving yourself, forgiving others for hurting you, and moving to a better place in personal growth. Yeah.
Oh, that it's Lisa. It's amazing because I think we're energetically like very like in alignment. Because I was also just about to ask you that, and it's amazing it just flowed from you. Because I know, many of us. I had a very turbulent childhood, and I know that the forgiveness piece. A lot of people get stuck. I think because they could have had a legitimate, especially when you're a child, because that's a whole different dynamic than when we were powerless and dependent on sick people and da 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 da, right? And I think many people allow themselves to stay stuck because they think it gives the wrongdoer or perpetrator, violate whatever, a pass. And realizing that it does not, for me, was huge. And I'll tell you, I don't want to take up too much because I want to hear what you have to say. It just came into my mind that what was the pivot point for me? I was 18 years old listening to Claudia Black. She, if you may know her, she's a pioneer in the adult children of alcoholics movement. 18, so whatever the math is, I just turned 60. And I remember she said that forgiveness has absolutely, because people say that forgiveness to forget, right? Forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with forgetting. The brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with remembering and choosing to move forward. Nobody gets a
That's
pass.
it.
Nobody. It's just a gift you give yourself. And I tell you, at night, that it was standing room only in this auditorium at college at St. Mike's, and I thought I felt like I just took a breath of the richest oxygen on the planet when I heard that. Let it go. I'm
And
sitting
think
next to
about it.
Pete and Frozen. Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah. And think about it. If you forgive someone, and it could be things way in your past, right?
Way in your past.
That person doesn't even, they don't know that you forget. If you forgive them or you don't, it's not affecting them in any way.
And they could be
They've done
dead.
what they're going to do. They've moved on,
They
you know.
could literally be
Yeah.
dead or in prison or something. They don't wait
Yes.
around. Don't wait around for an apology because that's about them. Like when we attach our happiness to something external, we give our power away. We bring that power in. I'm forgiving for me. Nobody can touch it. That's
There's a
the
great, oh,
no, no. Go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I
that
was
was
going
it.
to
I
say
was
there's
saying
a
that's what did it
great,
for me.
oh, see? And I was introduced to the great Hawaiian forgiveness meditation that's Ho'oponopono. And if you haven't heard of it, look it up,
Oh, I'm going to.
because they have a wonderful, wonderful way of looking at forgiveness. And it's basically what I said earlier is looking at who you need to forgive, understanding that when they did whatever they did to you, it was because they also were hurting in some way.
Right.
So telling them you love them, you forgive them, and thanking them for doing what they did because it made you the person that you are today. And then giving them some white light and energy to heal them, and then releasing it. Saying what you need to say and releasing it. It's a wonderful meditation. Ho'oponopono. And
Ho'oponopono?
yep, ho with a little apostrophe, and then ho, and then oponopono.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to look it up tonight.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And I wasn't introduced to it until it was July of last year, and now I've been practicing it a lot. I mean, this is something you can do almost daily, and you can use it in your journaling, which I journal. I also start my journals always with at least 3 things I'm grateful for.
Yes.
And yep, and then the loving myself part, because once you release all of this baggage, you still have to take steps and make goals to continue on this journey, right? And one of the steps that I gave to myself after that was writing in my journal. After I say what I'm grateful for, the next things I'm going to say is, what did I do that I'm proud of myself for today? How did I help someone else? Yeah. And again, you're giving yourself respect and honor. I did something to help someone today. Or what did I do? Oh, I wore a dress really well. Or I took a long walk with my dog and I was, felt good about it and didn't hurt myself. Or I tried something new and I had fun and I did it, an experience. Whatever you did, pat yourself on the back and do it as much as you can when you're journaling. Put that in there. Make that a step that you do, because you're honoring yourself. You're thinking, you're being the best friend to yourself, right? That's what best friends do. Be your own best friend. Yeah.
100%. Be your own best friend. That was a nice quote for the ages. This has been lovely, Lisa. I think this is a nice place to ask you for towards the end here, because the listeners are all over the world. I think I forgot to mention that. So there's, in 52 different countries, last I checked anyway. And who knows, mostly the age range, I think, is who you're targeting, actually. So let's say, because you're pretty self-aware, you had these experiences. Let's just say, because we don't know the whole continuum of where everybody is out there, right? So let's say if somebody were just starting, let's say they just got the aha moment from some of your wisdom bombs you dropped through the talk here, and they're just starting. What might be your advice for them to keep plugging, like without being discouraged? Like, what would a nice step that they could do to become one step closer to self-love?
Well, I think being aware when they're talking negatively to themselves in their own mind. So start paying attention, not only when you say out loud to other people what you say, but what you say to yourself. That's an indication, right? That you're not loving yourself, you're not valuing yourself. And once you start at least being aware, I have this little saying that you start to say either out loud or in your head, plug the hose. So it's like a water hose that just is out of control. And you say, plug the hose, and so it's making you aware that you're thinking negative thoughts about yourself. And when you think those negative thoughts, write it down that night in your journal. What negative thoughts? And then turn them upside down and make some positive affirmations out of them. If you say, well, I'm not pretty enough, write down, I am absolutely beautiful, and everyone recognizes that. And use that every day and read that every day. And even look at yourself in the mirror and say those things to yourself. I mean, I'll be honest, every day, look at myself in the mirror, and one of the things I say is, I love you. And I'm talking eye to eye. I say that to myself. Because again, things can happen that can bring you back a little bit, and you need to reinforce that on a daily basis. And that's a good first step.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Eye to eye. I love you. That's fantastic. That is that. Occasionally, not every day like you do, but occasionally I sing, frequent enough that my husband's used to it. I will sing, "You are so beautiful to me," in the morning, meaning me.
Oh,
I don't know all the words, so I just say like a little bit of it, and he just kind of rolls over.
yeah.
He's like, "Oh, of course, of course, of course." I love that, Lisa. You've really given us so much, just so much wisdom, and it was also soft and gentle and inviting, and I have no doubt in the world that you're making a difference in lives that you may never know because they're all over the place. And now, if you do, this is a good time to bring this up too. Anyone who would like to have a conversation with Lisa, pursue more information, she is a transformation coach, as you can tell by this show. She's really good at what she does. So if you'd like to contact her, her website will be right below here, and I would encourage you to do so. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the Minecraft podcast.
Thank you. This has been fun. I really appreciate it. And I love the fact that I feel so comfortable talking to you about personal things and allowing my own vulnerability to come out. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, it's been great. Vulnerability is strength. All right, Lisa, thank you.
Hmm